Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is Let's Talk Movies, and I'm Jason Connell. On the show today, I'm joined by Sal Rodriguez.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome, man, and thank you for joining me, Sal. It has been a long time since you've been on the show. Heck, it's been a long time since I've dropped an episode of Let's Talk Movies.
Yeah, it has been a while.
August 31st, 2022.
Wow.
I know it's been a long time. I had just gotten back from my wonderful trip in Los Angeles where we spent some time together, which was a lot of fun. We actually recorded in person for Let's Talk Movies.
Yes,
No,
very
not
special.
that, not that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's Talk Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Very special episode. We broke down The Next Karate Kid. That said, when I got back to Massachusetts, we closed on a new home in Rhode Island. You know all of this, but our fans don't. They don't know this. And then came my third move in 2 years, but let's call it final for a while. And that was just a ton of work. Renovations while we're living in the home. Yeah, it was only 90-minute drive, but it was logistics stuff was coming from different homes, different states. Then I was one of the directors of the Mystic Film Festival in late October. And it was just, and then the holidays, had to go visit family. So I am sorry for my absence, but I can assure you that I'm grounded. I have a new studio, learning my new place in life here in Rhode Island, loving it. And we're back to do more episodes of Let's Talk Movies.
Nice. You're laying down roots.
Laying down roots. And in fact, Just Curious Media has launched a new show, and that is Doggone.
Wow.
The Doggone podcast. And you were on that first episode, but that is now out there in the universe. So more offerings from Just Curious Media. And I encourage any and everyone who's a dog lover and wants to hear people tell their dog's stories, how impactful it was, and dealing with their loss, and just really different tone, different kind of show, but very beautiful and just getting going. So lots happening. But today I wanted to lure you in as we went back and rewatched The Thing, 1982. Let's be clear. I just saw it again for the umpteenth time and brought you on board to visit me on the air and just talk about this movie because I know you're a huge fan as well.
Yeah, this is one of those movies, one of those few movies. I don't identify as a cinephile. You may argue I am, but I don't officially identify as such because The Thing is one of those few movies that I have seen multiple times. I probably have seen The Thing about 10 times. And I can't say that about many movies.
Yeah, it has a very high rewatchability to it, and I watch it every so often. And it's like, oh my God, is it getting better? Or do I always just enjoy the ride? I mean, we even screened The Thing on 35 millimeter at the Vista Theater as part of the Los Angeles United Film Festival at midnight. And that was years ago. I mean, and speaking of years, it turned 40 last year. 40 years. It's 41 now. I just couldn't believe it because it holds up so beautifully. And I figured we would just have a little fun here, a quick exploration, just singing its praises, celebrating this movie. For me to watch it again, I now own it on Apple, which I love buying movies on Apple when they go on sale, and I can revisit it anytime I want. And, in 4K, looks amazing, sounds amazing. So I did just the other day, and I thought, I've got to talk about this movie. And maybe at some point in time, I'll have some cast members on. That would be great. But for now, I thought we'd play the classic trailer and then delve into just a few, takeaways and fun stuff. And we got a good surprise that I know you're hanging on to. So let's cue up the trailer. Look at us going all high tech. So
Nice.
To do the trailer, I have to get prepared.
Oh, what's going on here? Oh,
I now live in New England.
Yes.
And I guess I've lived in New England a year now, but so I know how to get ready for things in different climates. Because when I lived in Los Angeles, I didn't have a jacket that was quite so Antarctic ready.
Yeah. Well, let me see what the hood looks like. Does the hood go up?
You go all Mac ready.
Nice. You're ready for the cold. You're ready for Antarctica.
So bear with us here as we get the this thing queued up, and this should be fun. All right, losing our picture there for a second. We should have good sound. All right. The trailer holds up on its own, I got to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
We'll probably get some sort of advertisement per usual. Oh, just waiting.
We're going right in.
We're going right in.
Mayday. Mayday. Anyone hear me? Over. This is U.S. Station 31. You read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. We found something. We found something.
12 men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live, inside, where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? We can beat one of those things!
I lost you
This
for a
field
second,
is
Jason.
cold.
There you go. Now I hear you. Okay, I lost you.
I
for a
wasn't talking.
second. Okay. You're
I
messing
just
with
took
me.
it in. I just took it in. Okay, I'm gonna take off my jacket.
All right,
Okay.
that was cool, man. It
Warm up
still holds
now.
up. Damn, even the trailer still holds up.
Yeah, I don't know if you were afraid to talk, so then I didn't talk. I was like, I'm just gonna get into this.
Well,
But,
okay, we've never done that before, where we've played a video fully connected. So I was like, is this gonna work?
It worked. And then look
Yeah.
at this.
It sounded good.
Speaking of,
Sounded nice.
the trailer was great, but the poster, dun, dun, dun,
Oh, yeah.
look at that. And the poster,
Mhm.
I love what it says, the ultimate in alien terror.
Well, the very beginning where the guy goes, something, we found something, we found something. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was this many years old when I realized, oh yeah, something.
Thing.
Hello.
So those who don't know, the synopsis reads as such. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. Now, I love that, shape-shifting alien, because it really is piggybacking a little bit, homage. There's a lot of Ridley Scott's Alien in this movie, I would say. Very similar. You have all these people in space,
Yeah.
and then this alien's brought aboard. It pretty ingested into one of them, comes out and hunts them down. So it doesn't shapeshift. It's just there to knock you out one by one and take over. And those are like incredibly smart. I'm assuming the thing is as well. But it is, a few years after that movie, the Alien. And then it has some elements of, I would say, another movie that I'm very fond of is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Because that is the essence of taking place as somebody. It's almost like morphing these two wonderful movies together.
Yeah.
And then making it its own, for sure. I mean, John Carpenter, enough said. Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, Christine, and so many more movies. Legendary. He's so big that his name's above the title. John Carpenter.
I don't know. I'm kind of prone to call him the ultimate horror director. Would you say, even to this day, is there anyone that surpasses? Would you say Wes Craven surpasses
Wes
John
Craven
Carpenter?
would come to mind because he kind of stayed in that lane. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even have to give him the title. To me, he's just incredible filmmaker. I don't even want to put him in a genre. He's
Yeah.
just such a great filmmaker.
Yeah, and not only a filmmaker, John Carpenter oftentimes will score his own films.
Scores his own films.
I never
Did
you
the
never heard of such a
Halloween
thing.
theme himself.
Oh.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Fantastic.
Amazing. And he has great initials.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Big fan. So composed by Ennio Morricone, who did so many great things, from those spaghetti westerns to a lot of Tarantino films. And it's probably easier to name the movies he didn't score, because he just touched everything. I love the score. Having gone back and just watched this movie again, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to put the soundtrack on. It's that good. And then we're talking cast. So, I mean, Kurt Russell. John Carpenter would always work with people, for the most part, again and again, and Kurt Russell among them. You know, Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. He was also in Escape from LA, which wasn't as good, but he plays Mac Reddy, which I love that name, Mac Reddy. And then you have Wilford Brimley as Dr. Blair, Keith David as Childs, and so many more. He says it in the trailer. The 12 of us are here together. Smart. Have 12. You're going to lose people. You can't start with 3.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's a wonderful cast. You recognize so many of these people, but it's true horror. I mean, it's an amazing. So essentially, like the beats being, Sal, a Norwegian dog comes into the camp. By the way, half wolf, half Malamute. His name was Jed in real life, but he comes in this camp, but he's being chased by these Norwegians who are shooting him in a helicopter. You know, those old school helicopters, missing really bad shots. And they wind up blowing up their own helicopter, right?
I forgot
Before
about that.
They blow it up.
They didn't just miss the dog. They killed themselves.
Yeah, they did a lot of bad things. And they shot one of these guys, part of the crew that we get to know. And anyway, the dog comes in the camp, and you think, hey, man, those guys are nuts. Those guys are crazy trying to kill this dog. Well, the dog is the thing.
Yeah.
And the dog has some amazing scenes where he's just, walking down a hall, looks in, goes and visits. It's like, my gosh, this dog. And John,
he does some good acting.
The dog nailed it. It's like they couldn't believe how well trained, and he did these things that just worked beautifully in the film. And it just makes it come to life. So he is the thing, and slowly but surely, people go up missing. Things are broken into. They're all accusing one another. And I mean, it's a spectacle. But one of the scenes that always came to mind to me, like reflecting on it, like, what were those great scenes? It had to be the blood test. And I don't know what your thoughts were of that scene or any other memorable scenes in general, but they had to come up with a way, because they're already losing some people. How are we going to know you, Sal Rodriguez, aren't Sal Rodriguez? Is Jason Connell? And do you remember what they did?
It has to do with the way the blood reacts to being burned. So they get the piece of metal. They take your blood, they put your blood in the petri dish. They get a piece of metal that's hot. They put the hot metal, like a paper clip, I think, put it into the blood and see what happens. See how the blood reacts. Normal blood's just going to go. That's all it's going to do. The thing's blood, you put the metal into the thing's blood, it's going to react.
It's looking to react. It's protecting itself, and it's a brilliant idea. It's
very suspenseful. And the way that you've been describing this movie the last couple of minutes, I've been getting into mystery suspense lately. It's very suspenseful. That blood test is very suspenseful.
Unbelievable. That's my favorite scene. So when they're doing this, they realize that if it is the thing, they're going to react right away. So most people are tied down until you have been revealed as not being the thing. You're tied down. And then as soon as you're not, like, let me out of this thing. I don't want to be next to this person.
In case he's the thing. And it starts off with them being trapped. Just like you mentioned, what was the other movie you mentioned about people being trapped? They're trapped in a place, and then here comes the danger. Oh, aliens. Aliens. Somewhere where you have nowhere to run, theoretically.
And nowhere to go. Yeah.
Right away, it's starting up. Right away, horrible.
Yeah. They're in the middle of nowhere, and there's not a party coming in with supplies until the spring. And it's the dead of winter. It's cold. I have to wear a jacket to watch the trailer. It's frigid.
Yes.
And then there's lots of other things. They go off and discover, they go to the Norwegian camp, and they discover that they're all dead.
Yeah.
And there is an alien buried underneath the ice that they have discovered. The Norwegians did, and they were figuring this out. But there's a lot of creepy things. I mean, just the way people shift and the way they act. Wilford Brimley's character, Dr. Blair, starts to really just behave differently. And we know as an audience, like, yeah, I don't know. He's not how at the same time, maybe he's making decisions to protect himself because he's paranoid because anybody could be the thing.
Sure.
And it's really amazing. Just high water mark for John Carpenter, just suspense, the effects, the effects for the time. This isn't CG. They're not phoning this thing in. No offense, CG, but it's real effects and it's gruesome. Like The Fly, like that movie holds up with its effects. It's like, oh my gosh, it's disgusting. Well, this is about as disgusting as it gets.
But you say, Jason, the best effects for its time. I would argue even today.
What?
Let's take the CG. Yes. No, not even any practical effects guys today would necessarily do a better job. Once you start to bring in the computer graphics, it's a whole nother story. But I'm talking because you have to argue as to whether or not that means it's better. If you do something with CG, is that better? Well, it's not. To me, it's not. It's not necessarily better.
It might be easier to control, but it doesn't make the outcome better.
No. And it doesn't take me or keep me in that world, because all of a sudden I'm watching animation, really. And these movies that are doing digital blood instead of corn syrup, I want the corn syrup.
Yeah, let's go back to an American Werewolf in London. That transformation scene in the light, not hidden in the dark in the shadows, and you just see him change. David Naughton, horrific, and you never stop thinking about that scene. So I'm with you. I love a Lethal Weapon with real explosions and cars really blowing up, and the stakes are higher. This is gory to the next level. And on that note, I believe one Sal Rodriguez, toy collector connoisseur, has a few items from The Thing, and I'd love to see them and share them with our audience.
Jason, I will say, if there's one reason and one reason only why you had me as your guest on today's episode of Let's Talk Movies, is for my Thing collectibles. I mean, who could you call in your arsenal of co-hosts who has The Thing? I bet you nobody except for me. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. First thing, these were released by McFarlane Toys a few years ago. I mean like a lot, like 15 years ago. They came with a Thing.
Oh, there it is. Look at that.
Yep. So it comes with a whole frame. It's called Movie Maniacs. Was this Movie Maniacs? Yeah. McFarlane Movie Maniacs. There have the Thing poster. And then the first guy coming out.
Is that Mac Ready, do you think? Is that Mac Ready on there? Or is that the Thing?
I think it's just to represent the Thing's appearance.
Taking over. So it's not Mac Ready. Yeah.
Him arriving. I always say McReady. You don't say McReady?
I'm sorry. I just say Mac Ready.
You say Mac Ready.
When I see it written out, it is MAC capital REA.
But the only reason I know that for certain is because my friend Jake.
Right.
My friend Jake named his cat McReady. So I'm like, I think it's McReady.
It is McReady. You should have corrected me earlier. Yes. Kurt Russell plays McReady. Don't read it. Don't look at it. I'm a Mac guy, so I get confused.
Mac.
Okay, what's
Mac
going
ready.
on there?
This is I think this is Blair.
Oh my.
I think this is the Blair moment, I think. Because it's called the Blair creature, I think it's called in the package.
Yes, that's
the Blair. And then we have this one, I believe, is called the Norris creature.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. Yes.
And in
Fuchs?
Yes. And in the package with Norris was my favorite, and it's so fragile. I've cracked his legs off a few times, is the spider head.
Oh,
there's the spider head.
Gosh, that was so grotesque.
So this, when you talk about the memorable scenes, when the head comes down off that table and then the legs pop out. Oh my God, that. And then even though I love the creatures, of course, the thing for me is about the creatures, about those horrible effects, horrible meaning good. We have, of course, Mac Ready. There he is, Kurt Russell himself. Now, this one's made by NECA. The other ones were by McFarlane. This one is by NECA. This was a recent release. This one only came out about a year ago and was in high demand. I got this one at Target You know what? You might be able to go to
one
Target.
of the 12.
The only human they released from the thing was
Wow.
McCready. Yeah. No, I'd love
How
to get
about
some more. We're all waiting on
Childs?
more. We're all waiting.
Childs, I'd love that.
We're all waiting. So
Well,
hang on. Let me just see
that
what
looks
these look
really
like
good.
together.
Looks like a young Kurt Russell there. And you were
Let me-
saying you could probably get it at Target today.
Let me see that. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, McCready. You know, when they spelled it, maybe just dump the A, just MC ready. McCready. I got thrown off.
I
That's
like Mac.
awesome
I
song.
like Mac Ready. I do. That's funny.
Yeah,
Mac Ready. It's almost like a rapper.
I'm too much like an Applehead. Well, that's incredible. Not the show, but that's an incredible collection. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Do you have any take on the ending of the movie? Because this most recent watch, it's very fresh in my mind. I was sitting there having an internal debate.
Sure.
So listen, spoilers aside, whatever. The movie's 40 years old. At the very end of the movie, McCready is still alive.
Yep.
We don't know if he's been compromised because we don't see everything, but we assume he's McCready and he's, of true human self.
Sure.
And then Keith David Childs disappears at one point in time, hiding, and then comes into frame at the very end. And they're outside. The camp's a mess. They're in the, listen, they're in the Antarctic. They're not going to make it through the night. We have a fire going, but no one's probably going to come. So you're left to think like, hey, let's just have a drink, enjoy this fire until we freeze to death.
Yeah.
But people don't know. A lot of people go one way or the other. Is Childs compromised or not?
Yes.
And seeing it just recently, my take is he was hiding. He's not been compromised. He's not the thing. The thing was taken out. Yeah, Childs is a human. McCready's a human.
Oh, both of them are humans. Okay, so
that's my take.
It ends with us not knowing, but you think neither are.
That's my
okay.
vote.
Well, I like happy endings, and I hope you're right. But
they're gonna die anyway.
You're gonna assume that, but
unless they built a fort real fast, and I don't know why they just kind of made it sound that way. Yeah, maybe there is something they could take, cover in. Maybe there are something they could do. The food supplies diminished, and there's a lot of bad things, and they're worn out. But I'd like to think they're alive. But I just didn't see either one of them being the thing. Because I don't think the thing would come up and rationalize with them. The other person's so vulnerable in that moment, it would have been easy to take them out. Plus, you remember later in the movie, near the very end, third act, the thing is underground and starts to create more chaos than just being a person. All of a sudden, it's kind of a bigger being. It's not even in a person at some of those points. No, as far as I know. So
it's an amalgamation of everything. It keeps growing and growing and growing. Yeah. Hasn't John Carpenter commented? Surely they've asked him.
I think he's left it to your own devices.
Okay.
No director wants to come out and tell you what to think if it's lived on this long. And one thing that really bothered me in the movie, seeing it again, and I'm a huge, huge, huge dog fan.
Oh yeah.
It was to see how some of the dogs were, dismissed, killed, shot. I know it's all fake. I know it's all part of the story, but man, those scenes really were hard for me this time around. Oh yeah, I just didn't notice this before. Or, you're caught in different places and you see, I'm more sympathetic to the fact, but
sure.
No dogs were hurt, but the perception was wow, it really stung with me. And there should be a dog figure, I think.
No, you know what? No, you know what, Jason? You just refreshed my memory. There used to be a company called Soda Toys, state-of-the-art toys, Soda Toys, and they did make a McCready set where he's holding a shotgun, he's wearing a gray shirt, and then the dogs are doing, so there's at least one or two dog figures. So it's a little diorama. There is that set. It's sought after. It's old. It's got to be at least maybe 20 years old at this point. In fact, I think maybe the Soda Toys box set predates the McFarlane series, and which predates the NECA series. So I think Soda Toys might have even been first.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I mean, that one actor, Richard Masur, played Clark. He was kind of the gatekeeper of the dogs.
Yeah, the handler. Yeah.
And then you assume in the movie, because the suspense is very high. It's like
Yeah.
a Hitchcock movie.
It is.
You assume since he's shepherding the dogs and here comes the thing, and he took a liking to him, right? The dog went right into him,
Mhm.
and you figured they spent time together. So
Yeah.
surely Clark's been compromised, right?
Sure.
And then you find out he hadn't been.
Yeah.
And McCready shoots him in the head in that one scene. It's like,
Oh,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
God, to these curveballs and this
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful storytelling. In fact, if I watch it every 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's like you forget enough of the stuff that you're like, oh yeah, what's going to happen to this guy? Oh yeah, what happens to, and that begins to play out. And that's good filmmaking. That's great storytelling. And, and also this ambiguous ending. It's
Yeah.
like, well, let me look at it again. Maybe I feel differently next time. And maybe I will. But
Well,
I
the
don't know if
human
you had
drama,
anything- Go
the element of it's easy if it's like, okay, I'm good and they're bad and I'm going to
Yeah.
kill that person.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you have those incidences where you realize, oh my God, I killed an innocent person.
Yep.
So it's more than just you're fighting a creature.
And that
You're
happens.
fighting.
And they start to turn on each other like
Yeah,
these
yeah.
movies do. We believe this. We believe that. You just
Mhm.
you're a murderer now. Well,
Yeah.
but no one can trust anybody.
Yeah. So it
In a
does
way
really
that
sound
a
like a
little
murder
different.
mystery. It's like a murder. It's like a horror murder mystery is what it is.
And that's where it differs from Alien, but it had the, opportunity to come out after Alien, which by the way, it's its own masterpiece. I love, love, love Alien. But in that movie, if you remember it at all, the AI, he changes. And when we see him change, it's like, oh, well, he kind of has his own agenda. He's wired a certain way, but everyone else isn't turning on everybody because they don't think you're the alien. Right.
Yeah.
So this is where this movie had the benefit of like, well, let's bring another layer into play here. And it really amps the suspense in its own way.
Right.
The way it's shot, scored, like I mentioned earlier, the effects and the acting. It's fantastic. And I know we weren't going to talk about this, but there hasn't been a shot by shot remake, but there was another movie that came out just not that long ago, but enough years where I saw it when it first came out. I was like, oh yeah. And I thought it was a remake, but you were saying before we recorded that it was a sequel.
Well,
Or a prequel, I should
a
say. I'm
prequel,
sorry, a
yeah,
prequel.
because I think what it is it covers that the other team that they stumble upon.
The
What did you say that?
Norwegians.
The Norwegian. Okay, so it's their Norwegian team, the Norwegian camp. At the end of that movie, the dog runs off, and then at the beginning of this movie, the dog is running in. So I think we're led to believe that other movie that some people thought was a remake was actually more of a prequel to the movie The Thing. And let's not forget that our movie here, 1982's The Thing, is officially a remake of something from the 50s, right? Remember that one? The Thing.
But I haven't seen it. But yes.
Okay, so I saw that. It was, B movie 50s style, but my mother used to talk about it. So when my mother took me to see this movie, she did invoke that previous movie, thinking that it was going to be similar, and it was not at all similar at all, other than the fact that it's an alien coming to wreak havoc. That was the only similarity. So yeah, you have the original, then you have this one, 1982, which to me is the gold standard, and then you have that prequel. So I would recommend to go ahead.
I'm going to go back and revisit that. It came
see
out in
the
2011.
prequel.
So
yeah,
it wasn't just a few years ago. It's already like 12 years old.
It was a long time ago.
But I like this. I like the acting, but I don't recall them all being Norwegians, but I'm sure they took it a different way.
They might have messed around, but yeah, I think it was a prequel. Yeah, please watch it. Let me know what you think, because I do think we were left to think that.
We might come back and talk about it, but yeah, I think you're right. There were some elements, but it wasn't as impactful, obviously.
No, and of course, if you like the practical
the
practical effects, you're going to be disappointed when you watch that one, because it's going to be it's going to be all the computer stuff. Sure.
The AI was named Ash in Alien, by the way, but he's fantastic. But when he pivots, it's like, he's on his own agenda. But anyway, this movie just brilliantly done, like I just mentioned as well. And I highly, highly recommend checking it out, revisiting the movie, rewatching it if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen it, good on you. You're going to love it. I mean, I'd love to watch it with like a newbie.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun.
So I was like, oh, let's watch this movie together and just see what they get from it, like get their comments on the effects and whatnot. But
and then, Jason, you know what? Once you've seen the movie, once you fall in love with the movie, go get the action figures. Go get the collectible toys by Soda, McFarlane, and NECA.
Absolutely. So without further ado, please enjoy
The Thing.
So thank you so much for listening. And please be sure to subscribe to the Let's Talk Movies podcast and the Let's Talk Movies YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving this show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. And Sal, do you want to take this next part? Because I know you're familiar.
Sure, why not? And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any Let's Talk Movies social media platform.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcast and visiting justcuriousmedia.com.